All right. Well, so we are in a relationship series for this whole month called "It's Complicated." Who was here last week and loved hearing about clarity, commitment, and exclusive? Amen.
So you guys didn't love it?
Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah.
I didn't see it. My bad.
And so tonight, I figured what we do is So what we'll do is we'll do a panel tonight, and then next week we're gonna do a Q&A. So I posted the thing on Instagram earlier, the ask me a question thing. So you can all keep posting that a few times. You can text me. You can text the leader if you have their phone number. Bunch of questions, and so we will collect questions, and then next Wednesday we'll also have written questions and stuff. So that way, you guys, all the questions you want to know about relationships, we will attempt to answer in the best way we know how. And so partly to help with that, I invited two of our leaders that are married. They're not married, they're individually
We're not married to each other.
married.
His wife's name is Allie, so that could be confusing.
Christian is married, and then Allie is married. And so wanted to do a couple married people, so that way we can get some vantage point on various kind of ideas when it comes to relationships. Because when you're just in the dating phase, it's not like you don't know anything about relationships, but there's a much better vantage point you get once you're married about dating, and sort of you kind of get up to another level and you kind of see the other space with a different vantage point. And so I figured they would do a good job with kind of shedding some light on things pertaining to dating in relationships. So, all right. So I'm going to basically just ask them questions and they'll chime in, and then I might say a few things here and there, but we'll let them kind of do most of the talking. So we'll start off with kind of the simple question of, how do I know when I'm ready to date? How do you know when you are ready for that stage of life to date?
You want to go first? I got a lot of words. You can go
Okay,
first.
I'll go first because she might go a little bit longer. Whoa.
Oh,
Is there effects on this? Hello? Okay. All right. So, just real quick, a little bit background on me. So me and my wife Alawani, we've been married we'll be 9 years married this year.
Woo-hoo, let's go.
Yeah, 9 years married. We got married pretty young. We have 3 beautiful boys. But yeah, so there's some things I've picked up along the way. So that I want to share with you guys. So in terms of so I feel like when you're in high school, it's a little tough. Hormones are crazy. You want to date and everything, but I think a very important aspect is knowing what the future is. Obviously, we don't know what our future is or anything like that. But when you're, say, a freshman, sophomore, junior, there's so many things I feel like are up in the air about your future, like colleges, what you're gonna do, what other people are gonna do. So I feel like when in dating, if we're gonna go about this biblically, which we should, we're really dating to marry. We want a future with this person. We want to build a foundation with this person, and there's a lot of variables I feel like when you're young that a lot of times it won't just sometimes it just won't work out. So. And a lot of things as well, I feel like, is the emotional aspect of it. Are you emotionally mature enough to really be in a relationship? Are you struggling with your own feelings of loving yourself? Because I'll tell you right now, if you're having trouble looking at yourself in the mirror and loving yourself, it's going to be impossible for you to love somebody else. So that was one thing I struggled a lot with in high school was, self-confidence and everything too. And I feel like, if I had that a little bit in check, I think of a lot of I wasn't in a ton of relationships when I was in high school, but a couple. And I feel like, looking back at it, I definitely really wish I would have went about it a little bit differently, knowing what I know now. Just because, again, when you're dating, you're really trying to date to build a future with somebody rather than just mess around. Because literally, just like Pastor Ryan said the other week, I think it was last week, dating is going to end in one of two ways. It's either you're going to marry this person or you're going to break up. So it's important to keep that in mind, and I'll let Allie yap now.
Thanks. Well, Christian shared his background, so I'll share mine too, but most of you guys watched it happen. That's my husband, Nathan.
They were cousins. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
They were not.
I low-key forgot about that. We've been married for 4 months. Yeah. Yeah, how do you know when you're ready to date? Okay. I think there's like a few important things. Number one, you have to be like good being like okay with being single. Like I think that is the top priority. Like if you are not okay with being single, then you're not ready to date, if that makes sense. Because you shouldn't be relying on somebody else to fulfill yourself. So you need to feel fulfilled on your own, be happy with yourself, be content in your being by yourself and doing your own activities, doing your own things, having your own friends, all of that, because you should not find your identity in another person. Second, you need to be financially responsible enough to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend because it is expensive. Dates cost money, gifts cost money, flowers cost money. And if you want to eventually marry this person, which you should if you're dating them, as Christian said, then you're going to need money for a wedding, for a house, for maybe any kids you end up having, for like if you're not done school yet, you want to finish school somewhere. Or, like there's a lot of things in life that cost money when you're an adult, and you kind of take a fast track to adulthood when you get married. So if you get married at 19 like these guys did, like you have to be a grown up real quick. I got married at 24, and guess where I live right now? My parents' house with my husband. So that's all I'm saying. Like, you got to be financially prepared to take that next step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna tag in one thing is, going on dates with so like guys going on dates with your girlfriend. It doesn't count as a date if you're using mommy and daddy's money to go pay for your movie ticket, to buy the popcorn.
Yeah. Like
Sorry,
if
but that
mom,
doesn't count.
If mom has to drop you off,
Yeah, if you don't have a
if you can't pick her up, you can't take her out.
If you don't have a job, then just wait. Just wait.
You gonna pick her up on a bike? Have her ride on the pegs?
If you don't have a job, then move on. All right, so kind of speaking of this idea of like how do you know when you should date or how you should wait, all that sort of stuff. So standards tends to be kind of like a thing of like, okay, how high should they be? How low should they be? You can definitely have way too high of standards, that's for sure, but you also can have way too low of standards. What's a good like middle ground for like what's a good standard versus what's a bad standard? Like how do you know, sort of like if you're a teenager, how do you know if my standards are too high or if are they too low?
Well, you know what? I'll tell y'all your number one standard should be, does he love Jesus and obey Jesus? Because the devil knows who Jesus is too, all right? That's all I'm saying there. But devil can quote scripture. That's okay? So just because he can quote scripture does not mean he loves Jesus. All right. As I was saying, standards. Like I feel like there's like reasonable standards and unreasonable standards. Like, you know, maybe you say that you want him to want to live in the place that you want to live. I think that's a reasonable standard because you're planning a future together, and if you don't have the same ideas for your future, then you're probably not compatible for your future. However, if you're like, he needs to be 6 feet tall and have like blonde hair and blue eyes and needs to be this and this and this and needs to be in finance, like, girly, your standards are too high. Like, yeah, thank you. I didn't say 6'5" though. Yeah, like that you're being a little unreasonable. Like maybe you can pick one of those things. Like obviously you want to be physically attracted to the person that you're going to be with, but you can't have like a laundry list, like 20, different things that you're like, if he doesn't have this, I can't be with him, or if she doesn't have this, I can't be with her, because you're going to find a person that's like, they got most of the stuff and they've got the really important things, and that's what matters. Like, I feel like you need to make your top list of like, what are the, 3 or 4 most important things to you in a person, and then everything else is just like, if they've got it, great. If they don't, it's no big deal.
One thing I'll tag in real quick is like the whole standards thing of if your standards are up here, you better be able to match them yourself too. So you can't shoot 10 stories above your like weight limit or whatever like that. I
Yeah,
don't
if
know.
you're looking for a man that's
Whatever.
6'5",
You know what I
blue-eyes
mean?
finance, you better be something good yourself
Yeah,
and not
like-
like a couch
Like
rat.
if you're like, oh, they've got to be making like $1 million a year, but like you don't want to work. Too bad. You gotta work higher to shoot higher.
why
if that
are you
makes
worthy
sense.
of them?
Yeah, basically, like you have to be able to run with that same category standard that you're expecting of them, and if you can't run with it, then your standards are too high, basically. Sure.
This wasn't a question night, but
No. So Christian, what's your answer?
So, yeah, I agree with pretty much everything Ali said. I think the most important foundation is making sure they are rooted in Christ, first and foremost. Because if that is true in their lives, then everything should work itself out. In terms of like where their standpoint is on everything. Another thing is, and I think I said this the other day, was like if they don't currently have a relationship with God, if they're not currently going to church, they're going to tell you, hey, like I'll make this work. Like I'm going to try and make this work with you, and I'm going to go to church for you. I'm going to go praise the Lord with you on Sundays. It's not going to work out. I'll tell you that right now. Because if they're doing it just solely just to please you, they're not going to be, they won't have a firm relationship with God as they should. So that's definitely an important thing. And also for the guys, it's like if you're dating someone and like you have to envision like what you want as well. Like, do you want to be a father like one day? And if like the person you're with doesn't embody the aspects you feel like a mother should have for like children, you know what I mean? That's also very important because that's someone that's going to be with you the rest of your life and helping you raise your children. So it's a lot of things. That's why it's very tough. Like when you're in high school, it's like, oh, you have so many moving pieces. So like when you're trying to decide, like, do I want to be with this person in the long term? And like when you have so much other things going on, it's it's a lot to think about. Especially when you got your whole future ahead of you and everything.
that's not to say it can't happen though. Clearly, people fall in love quite young and get married, and it works out. But like, you have to move a lot of your own life around to make it work with another person. And if you wait a little later till you guys are both already in like semi the same spot, it's a lot easier.
Yep. Yeah, just to chime in on that too, because I mean, me and my wife Alawani, we got married young. I mean, we started young, but like that's when it like we had to turn it on in terms of like, well, he personally like just finding a job that was good paying, hustling to be able to support a family, because that's, I mean, if you don't, then no one else is going to do it for you. So you definitely just it's really just a wake up call at that point, and you're just trying to grind to get ahead rather than taking your time. So
Yeah, love those. Cool. Sort of on the same ish vein. So another thing that people talk about relationships all the time is communication. Like that's like got to be like the buzzword when it comes to relationship. So like communication is key. It's a big deal. It's really important. What does good communication look like, and how can we get better at not just communication but good communication? So what does good communication look like, and how can you get better at specifically the good communication?
Well, I would say number one is that when you are having like, Nathan and I don't call them arguments, we call them conversations, because we are not arguing with each other, or like a discussion. Maybe you can have a heated discussion, but we're not having an argument because we're not fighting against each other. We are fighting together against whatever topic that we're having an issue with. So we're looking to solve a problem together and not win a fight. I think Ryan talked about this a couple weeks ago too. But yeah, it's just about like being a team and being on the same side and solving something together rather than going at each other. And then on that note, with communication, when you have an issue, you have to bring it up, because you can't expect them to know what your issue is. So like he was saying that about the silent treatment too, but like it goes beyond the silent treatment. Like say he made me mad doing something and he has no idea what he did made me mad. And maybe I'm not giving him the silent treatment, but like we're just going about our day like normal and I don't tell him that it made me mad. If you let that build up that's going to like explode later. So you need to like, as soon as something happens that you're not comfortable with or you're upset about, you need to bring it up as soon as it happens, or like at least within that day. Because once it's been 24 hours, it's like, I don't even remember when that happened. And then you start bringing up old arguments and you're like, well, you never do this and you never do that. And that's not helpful, because you can't like, you're like, once you start asking them, oh, list specific grievances, list specific times that this happened. It's like, how are we helping right here, right now? We're not. We're fighting against each other and not the problem. So just like, I guess with communication, you just need to like work together and talk out loud and actually talk. And another thing, sorry, I have a lot to say. Sometimes girls, we want to talk a lot, and sometimes boys don't want to talk as much. And sometimes we have to be very patient and just sit there and wait for them to say something. I love Nathan. He takes 3 to 5 business days to respond. I'm not gonna lie. I'll just be sitting there for like, I've grown a lot more patient because I have to sit there for like maybe 10 minutes waiting for him to say something, and like my brain is just going, and I want to say 100 more things, but I have to hold my tongue and wait, because if I say something, he's not gonna get to say what he needs to say. So we have to be patient and wait for an answer.
Yeah, communication super important. That like if you don't have that in your relationship, it ain't gonna work. So that's definitely something I struggled with a lot. I mean, I still struggle with it a little bit. I mean, I think us, well, boys and men, we just struggle to kind of just talk about our feelings in general, with what's going through our head and everything. And that was one thing my wife has always told me, is like, just talk to me, tell me what's going through your head. Cause like sometimes like I'll be running through like a bunch of things through my head and moving like 100 miles a minute. And me just opening up, it does help. And like Allie said, like when you guys are in those kind of arguments, it's like you guys have to learn that when you guys are in those type of arguments, it's not you versus them, it's us versus the situation that you guys are going through. Because if you look at it as you versus them, then you guys are never gonna get over any kind of obstacles or anything like that. I think it's very important that when you guys go through that kind of thing, that you guys just team up together to tackle that situation. And in terms of like, I honestly, like, now it's still hard for me to this day, 9 years into this marriage. Like, it's when I'm going through something or I don't like something, for me to just say something, because it's easier for you, instead of you just bottling up and then you expecting the person to know what's going through your head. It's just, at the end of the day, it's just going to come out in a huge argument, and it's just not going to be fruitful for your relationship.
I gotta say one more thing.
Yeah.
The conversation, like talking about it, communicating is good, but the conversation is not done until you've reached an understanding or a compromise. So that is important. Okay.
Yeah. I was going to say like on the guy side of like, so like girls, they'll talk about it much quicker and much more aptly, and they'll have a lot more to say usually about like, the conflict. And so like, for instance, me and my wife, Sam, when a problem arises, she wants to fix it the second it happens. Like the millisecond something happens, she wants it fixed. Me, I want to process it, and I want to like, okay, let's just step away from it. So that makes her mad, and then it makes me mad because she's getting mad about wanting to like jump in harder on it. And so I'm like, oh, whatever, So that's where our that's where our problem comes in. But I think with guys in conflict and like talking through what's going on, I think there's a couple mechanisms that tend to kind of create the situation we find ourselves in. One is like societally, we have a lot of mechanisms that sort of push us into the space of what is it? What I'm trying to like. We have a lot more mechanisms that push us into like, no, you just need to suck it up and be a man and not really express it. And so there's a lot of like societal pressure to kind of do that. But also I think for the most part as guys, we just want to fix problems. We don't want to like dwell and get to all the details and figure out all the little rabbit trails of it. Yeah, the nuances, the details, the rabbit trails of it. Like me, I'm just bottom line. Like, let's just fix a thing. say, okay, we're going to do this and fix it and move on. Whereas more often than not, women want to get through the details and want to flesh more things out and they want to express more and they want to like go through all the caveats and things of it. Whereas guys were just like, just give me the bottom line. Like that's all I really care about. And we just want to fix it, get to the bottom line and move on. And so learning on both sides for the women to learn or to know that like sometimes one day when you have a husband and you have a boyfriend, sometimes they're going to need time to process, but also they're going to be looking at the bottom line. They're probably not going to want to go on a nice boat ride through all the details of everything that's ever happened in all of human history to get to the point of your problem. Like they don't want to go through that. And then on the other hand, guys, we also need to understand women, they want to express it and they want to talk about it. And you just listen and go, yes, I hear you and I understand, and just listen in because they want to know that you care. That's really, for the most part, what it is you, most of the time they don't want you to fix it. They just want to know that you cared about it. So that's my little toss in for there. Okay, so I guess in line with conflict, let's go with this one. So you and your significant other, let's say dating, okay, not marriage, let's say in dating situation, or you're in the interested phase or something like that. You're not in marriage yet. So you and your significant other, you're dealing with conflict. How can you tell when the problems are meant to be fought through versus and to find a solution, or it's meant to like, okay, I think it's time for us to throw in the towel and end the relationship? Like, how do you navigate the, like, whether it's the severity of the thing, the type of thing? How do you know when the conflict is too much? And how do you know when it's like, no, you just, like, this is something you need to work through?
So something like that, I feel like if you're constantly getting in arguments that you feel like you guys can't get over, then it'd be best to just part ways because you guys are just constantly butting heads and not working through certain things. And then also the lost my train of thought. I'll let Allie go.
Okay, well, I will say, like, first of all, it matters when it happened, whenever, like, the grievance happened. If it's, like, an issue from their past that, like, you just found out about and, like, now you're like, well, now that I know this about you, I don't know if we can still be together. Well, I think it depends on if they've already worked through it themselves or not. Because if they've worked through it themselves and it's something from their past, okay, then you guys can move on together from it. Maybe you need to work on some forgiveness in your heart for what they did, but you can keep moving forward from it. If it's like something that they're actively working through, that's up to you to decide if you're willing to work with them through it and stick by their side, or if you are like, I can't handle that and you need to step away. It's totally nuanced and individualized. But there's definitely things that, like, it can be worth it to stick through and work something out with somebody. But there's also things that are like Christian said, if you are constantly arguing and you're never finding solutions to your arguments, yeah, probably best to just split these because it's probably not going to get better. Yeah, and then also if, like, you can see yourself building a future with this person, even with whatever situation has happened, then that's, sure, continue on with it. But if you're like, I don't know if I could live with them if they didn't change, it's a nosy. Just because they might not. You never know.
Yeah, and also if it's also like impacting your relationship with God at the same time as well. Like if you find that these conflicts and everything are drawing you away from God, and everything you guys are going through is just kind of putting you in a rut in which you don't even feel like talking to God and everything, then that's a huge sign where you just kind of need to step away, and focus on you and God at that point. That way you guys can, you can feed your spirit, thus help feeding you emotionally, so you can also mature a little bit because it comes from both sides. So
I've got something else. You guys are high schoolers, so I'm gonna say it, okay? If you sometimes, right, in a relationship, like maybe things go a little further than you planned on, like intimately, and with that person that you did that with, you will either feel like, okay, I need to break this off immediately because that's not a person that I'm like, they did something I'm not okay with, and we did it together, but like I wasn't okay with it and we went too far and I need to go away from this person. Or you'll be like, well, I'm not supposed to have sex before marriage or do this kind of thing before marriage, and I did it with this person, so now I need to stay with this person because I did this thing with that person. And that if I get married, it'll fix it, right? It doesn't fix it. You still did it outside of marriage. It doesn't matter if it's with the person that you married or not. It was outside of marriage. It was not what God wanted for your life. So don't stay with a person just because you did something with a person. That's not a good reason to stay with them.
One thing I was going to toss into is through the conflict, if you can, it's hard to tell, but one thing I've seen that happens oftentimes is like, so two people will be dating, but one person subconsciously through their actions and the way they do things expects the other person to fix them and to fix their life and fix their problems. You're not responsible for fixing someone's life. Just you're not. That is not your job, and it never will be your job. So don't pretend like it's your job and don't feed into that. You are not going to fix someone's life. Sure, you can help solve problems, sure, but you're not going to fix somebody. And so if they're expecting you to fix them, to me, I think that's a like, hey, you need more help than potentially anybody can give you, but
You're not a therapist.
You're not their therapist. You are not their lifeline. They need to be able to be on their own and to be able to be their own thing, kind of like what Allie was saying. And so if you get that vibe of like if I'm not there, then they can't survive, then they have bigger issues to deal with and they should not be dating. And so I think that's one clear thing of like, no, that's a no-go.
And blatant disrespect too. Like if someone's calling you a name and telling you like you're not worth anything, or like you guys get in a heated argument and they're telling you, and like if a girl's telling you, oh, you know, like you're worthless, or if a guy's telling you, you know, like that's time to split. No time in a relationship. I don't care who you are, and you never disrespect a person that you're with, in my opinion. It's a relationship that's supposed to be built out of love. And if it just gets into dangerous territory when it goes far like that. So
yeah.
Dating is not married. If things happen when you're married, that's a different story. You got to work through it.
Mm-hmm. So make smart decisions before you get married.
Yeah.
yeah.
Pick person that's not going to mess you up.
Make your big mistakes in dating, or don't make them. Okay, well, maybe two last questions since we're getting close to time. Okay, so you both obviously are in a relationship, but have both of you gone through breakup before?
Yes, I have. When I was
You got married when you were 12.
yeah. So
How do you deal with breakup?
So I will say, like when I was a freshman, I went through a breakup and I did not go about it the most healthy way at all. And honestly, I think it's because I had a lot of stuff growing up where like I just had to work on myself personally. Like just kind of tell you a little bit about myself. My parents were divorced. My mom was never home, so it's like I feel like once I finally had that relationship with somebody that listened and just, you know, give me that kind of trust, and it didn't work out, it felt like it was the end of the world. Like it literally felt like my world was falling apart. And it just put me in a deep rut. And that goes in turn and like hand in hand with what we've been discussing pretty much most of the night. Like how do you know you're ready for like a relationship like that? And obviously I was not ready for a relationship, because the moment it ended and fell apart, because she obviously just wasn't in a healthy spot emotionally and mentally, neither was I. And that's when I just, you know, it just felt like, you know, my whole world was falling apart. But, you know, we moved past it. I'm married now, so it's all good.
All right, we
I
out
just
here.
fixed it and I was good now.
Yeah.
Just fixed it. We're out here sharing anecdotes. I'm going to give you guys 2 examples, okay? So
2 breakups.
2 breakups. 2. So the first one, okay, this was a situation where the person that I was dating was pulling me further away from my relationship with God. So when that breakup happened, that was like my first really serious relationship. I was very horribly upset about it because he kind of like dumped it on me, and he was like, well, I was going to wait until after you got back from your trip, but you know, I didn't want to mess up your trip for you, but and I was like, well, you already were because you were making me depressed. So so I actually felt a lot better after we broke up because I didn't feel like I was burdened by that anymore of like the potential of having to marry this person. But at the same time, like he was pulling me away from God, and I just felt guilty all the time. And when we broke up, I was really sad, but I was able to like lean into my friends and lean into my church group and come back to like the way my life had been before, living in church and being in community. And like I'm telling you, such a quick turnaround of like when I started to feel actually happy in myself again. And then, so that's best advice, is to lean into your friends and lean into church. Second situation, right? Maybe it happens with people from church, right? And it's like within your friend group. So that's happened, then it's a different story. You have to find other venues and other outlets to lean into. That's, I think, when you start getting into your own hobbies, and like when you know, like maybe you need to regroup and find a new friend group. And like, this is a big church. There's a lot of people. You can find different people to hang out with. Like, there is a lot of people here, and there's a lot of kids your age that don't even come to the youth group. So promise you can find other people to hang out with. But also, you guys at school, you have school, and it's not all the same people. So sorry, I know some of you are homeschooled, but I think you guys go to co-ops, right? Anyways, yeah, so like if the breakup happens within your friend group, lean into your hobbies. If it happens outside of your friend group, lean into your friends. And God. Always lean into God.
Nice. I had something I was going to say, and then I lost it, so.
It's because I'm long-winded.
Well, part of it was I had one girlfriend before I met Sam, and it lasted for like, I think 6 months or something like that, and I wasn't like heartbroken and devastated when we broke up. It wasn't like the end of the world, so I don't really have like a tragic breakup story. But I do know that when you break up with somebody, you probably feel like, oh, there goes half my life and my world. No, you got your world back. Like, you have your thing back, so you can grow and develop from being single again. So if your world is fully shattered by a dating relationship, you probably invested too much too quickly. And so that's probably a sign to not invest so deep and so quick the next time. Because when you're dating, your lives are not fully intertwined and fully meshed together. You're not one flesh, as the Bible puts it, yet. And so I think, for instance, actually, you know, I'll say one last quick little thing. When you're in the dating stage, I would suggest all your deepest, darkest trauma, don't share it with them yet. That's a married thing, or an engagement thing. Your deepest, darkest, everything that's horrible ever happened to you. Hopefully nothing horrible has happened to you, but your deepest, darkest traumas, that's not for the second date. Don't trauma, what is it? Trauma bond.
Yeah.
Don't trauma bond, that's what it is. Don't trauma bond with people.
Is it trauma bonding if it happened to both of you?
Oh, maybe. Well,
Katniss
anyways,
and Peeta.
yeah, don't trauma dump on like second date. They don't need to know that like right off the bat. Eventually, when you've been dating for a while and you feel like, oh, I could see myself committing to them, that's when I think it's a good time to like, okay, let's really get into the deep stuff and let's figure out now, not second date. So how you
Maybe
deal with
before you're engaged, though.
Huh?
So maybe before you're engaged, though, because
Yeah.
like, what if they drop something on you? You're like, whoa, I don't know if I can handle that.
Did I not say while you're dating?
No, you said
before?
You said like
Yeah.
once you're
Oh,
engaged,
yeah.
you're married
Yeah.
at first, and then you changed it. You're
Yeah,
being
yeah.
very unclear. So.
Yeah. Before you get engaged, I would say that's a good time to
Yeah.
get into the trauma stuff, but that's like well into dating after you've been dating for a while. And the questions start to come up about like, hey, marriage, like, is this going to be a thing? Which also another thing, which I think I said last week, but if you're dating somebody and the thought of even bringing up the question of marriage is like, whoa, oh my God, then you probably aren't ready to date.
Too young.
Yep.
Too young.
More than likely. So, but also, I think the key takeaway from tonight was if you don't have a job, then just don't date. You wait until you got a job and you got some keys in your pocket. Then date.
If you can't pick her up, you can't take her out.
Exactly. So gentlemen, work out and get buff and stay be a man, stay masculine, clean
Focus
the dishes,
on yourself.
clean your room. By the way, gentlemen, have we done dishes this last week, and have we cleaned our rooms and stuff and done our laundry? Good. Amen. As a man should. Awesome.
Yeah, Nathan cooks me dinner.
Yeah. I do dishes too much right now. And I low-key really hate it. So, but you know what? You gotta do what you gotta do anyways.